Well, it looks like the next Joker film, Joker, Folie, et Deux. I think that's how you say it. I just call it Joker Dave Coulier, but that's besides the point. The next Joker film is looking like it's tracking to be a little less than the first Joker with the opening numbers. Is that a problem? There are some people out there who saying this is a huge problem. This is a terrible thing for Warner Brothers and DC Studios, even though it's not technically a DC Studios film. But that's besides the point. We're not going to talk about that. Let's talk about what this movie could potentially do in its opening weekend. Now, this film is coming from Warner Brothers and Todd Phillips, and it is tracking right now to have about a $70 million plus opening. This is coming from Deadline. This came out a few days ago. It says the studio, similar to what they did with the original 2019 movie, took the picture to Venice Film Festival for a world premiere. However, the critic reviews came back at 62% fresh. That is a 62% fresh from the critics at the Venice Film Festival. However, for those of you who actually care about Rotten Tomatoes, which I know a lot of people who are fans of DC are going to sit there, we don't care about the Rotten Tomatoes scores, before you go freaking out and say, see, it's going to do terribly. The first one also had a 62% fresh with critics, but then grew to 69% later down the line. Now, it states, and the article states that the sequel is exactly what Phillips set out to make. A movie with musical elements. It's not a straight up musical like a lot of people were saying it was going to be. It is with musical elements. So the question is whether the fans of the $1.1 billion grossing movie want to see Arthur Fleck, Joker, and Harley Quinn, played by Lady Gaga, singing their characters' personal favorite hits. So, what is this movie going to do? I, who am not a fan of the first one, am probably going to go see this one. Why? Because it is kind of intriguing. My interest is piqued on this musical element. I'm curious to see what Lady Gaga can do as Harley Quinn. But besides that, what do I think this movie can do? Again, the first one did $1 billion. I've been saying, I think it's a no-brainer that this movie is going to do near that billion. I think $1 billion is in its sights. It opening at 70 million compared to the 96.2 million. Did I say billion? Million. It opening to 70 million compared to the 96 million, I should say, is not that far off. It still could track close to that $1 billion. 900 million is still a success. People sitting here saying that Joker is going to be a huge flop because it only opens with $70 million plus. Come on. A lot of these people don't understand what can happen from word of mouth. Don't listen to the critics. Don't listen to what they say. We know this. We know that you can't always listen to the critics. Again, this is coming from somebody who doesn't enjoy the first one. I don't like how they utilized the DC branding for this film. I don't like how they just set it in Gotham when they could have used any city. They could have, all they had to do is they added the Wayne name in there, Joker, and Gotham. That's all they did. And they're like, it's a DC film. Like, that just bothered me as a DC fan. It's a good movie to a point, but you didn't need to make it a comic book film. That's besides the point. Anyways, I think this movie's going to be fine. I think the people are sitting here freaking out saying, this is going to be terrible. They're freaking out for no reason. Look, they made this movie with a $200 million budget. Why? I'm not exactly sure. I think the first one had like a $60 million, $50 million budget. Why they bumped it up to $200 million, Lady Gaga doesn't cost that much, nor should she cost that much. So if she did, that's ridiculous. Why it jumped up to $200 million, I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. I don't know what could have bumped the production budget up so much. What caused that budget to jump up $150 million? I don't know. Obviously, when the first movie does well, and as well as it did, you absolutely are going to get a bump in budget. That's a pretty hefty bump. Why it jumped up to $200 million is beyond me. That is like Avenger level budget. This is not an Avenger level type of film, nor should it be. But we'll see. Let's see what they did with this movie that could give it a reason for a $200 million budget. But again, it's going to make that money back plus. I mean, it is. The marketing, that plus marketing, you can see this movie making $500, $600, $700 million. Even, like I said, even if it hits the low end, if it hits that $70 million tracking, which is the low end, it's still going to hit that $600, $700 million easy at the box office. And then if it's good, word of mouth, it just keeps going and going and going, and it could hit that $1 billion. Again, you can't trust what critics say. It's so bizarre how people love to pick out what movies they want to say critics matter, Rotten Tomatoes matters. For some context, because this is something other people like to say, the Marvels had an opening weekend at $47 million, and it did crap. And they're like, well, Marvel's opened at 47. Well, that movie was crap. That's why it opened at 47 million. That's why it had no legs. That's why it failed at the box office. The Flash opened at 55 million, which was slightly higher than the Marvels. Did crap at the box office, had no legs. The difference there is it was with a failing brand. Nobody cared about the DCEU anymore. Joker, coming off a very, very successful movie, and now with a very Lady Gaga's hot. People love Lady Gaga in films. Like, come on, like she is a hot commodity. If they hear that she's in a movie, people want to see her. And then you got Joaquin Phoenix. People are going to want to see it. Look, I think this movie's going to do fine. Like I said, around $1 billion makes sense. Is it going to make the same amount as the first one? Maybe, maybe not. But around about $1 billion makes complete sense. Let me know what you think, though. I want to know what you guys think. What kind of money is this movie going to make? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, share this around. And with all that said, I'll catch you all later.